Welcome to today's podcast, The Three Bro Scientists. I'm Xavier here with Martin and Santi.
Something.
And today we are kicking us off with some more fun, lighthearted topics, just to have a good chat and see where we go. And Santi actually raised a very good one about, I reckon, 4 months ago. I think was it in Sweden as well? Walking the streets of Sweden.
No, Martin was there, I believe. Oh, Martin was with us.
Wasn't it in Italy though? Doesn't matter.
May have been in Italy. Well, you know, it doesn't matter where it was. It was somewhere beautiful, right? And we were there. And Santi, being the romantic, he's like, what happens, Or what's the worst thing to say when someone proposes to you? Is it before or after? I can't remember.
It's after.
What is the worst thing to say just after someone proposed to you? And I'm going to leave this to the guys to answer first.
Why?
Because I've never
been like I remember when we talked about this first, it had opened a lot of room for controversy, or that we didn't agree maybe, or that maybe someone didn't understand the question very well, like maybe what you said, tell you, like, was it before or after? Like, it's a pretty straightforward question, and we did spend a lot of time on it. I mean, the first example is, like, if you're asking for marriage, or doing a proposal, the worst well-known answer is like, are you kidding? Are you serious? Like, I don't believe you. That's like a very classic, like, awful answer to get. But I think there's many worse answers to that question. Like, I don't know, starting off from, like, what if that person that you're asking marriage for, what if they'd been pushing off, like, having a talk with you, and then you making the big question, like, just leaves them with no choice but to maybe break up because they've been, like, pushing it aside for a while. I mean, it's a hard thing to get to, because if you're asking for a proposal, then maybe your relationship's certainly in a good position, but I'd be guessing that that's an awful outcome. Would you guys ask for a proposal in the first place? Are you open to marriage?
Yeah.
Would you like propose to a girl?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why do you ask?
No, because another bad answer would be like, or maybe not bad answer, maybe you could reach like a consensus, but maybe that person's just not open to marriage. But that's also something you probably talked about with that person before as well.
Yeah, nowadays it's pretty common to not be open to marriage.
Man,
yep.
Why do you think that is?
I always question that to people, but it is.
You know what I genuinely think? I've got like a hypothesis for that. Because I've talked to a couple of people that are like that, and there's a very similar pattern in general. There's like, they've had really bad parents, or like not bad parents, just like a tough upbringing. Like, if you grow up in a really loving and caring family, 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to want to get married, unless you can't because you're gay or whatever it is. Like, and in some areas you can't get married because you're gay.
Oh.
So like in Australia you can't, or maybe you can. I don't really know, but yeah. So I totally think it's the not totally think. I think there's a strong connection between your upbringing and if you want to get married or not.
You know, that's not my experience. In fact, I actually thought the same as you. But then this conversation actually came up a couple weeks ago it was my mom and my sister in the dinner table. And I feel like my parents have posed a good example of, like, parenting. And even then my sister was, like, closed off to marriage, at least for now. Currently she, like, That's how she expressed it. Like she just doesn't like see herself getting married. Um, so I think it goes like, and I said exactly what you said, and
Mm,
she like she told me a bunch of her friends don't think about marriage, and they don't necessarily had or they didn't necessarily have bad parents. So
mm,
there must be other factors that come into play, I think, or maybe it's just this like marriage is kind of scary. I mean, and if I'm not mistaken, the whole concept of having kids is also not easy for every single woman. Like it's a very complicated phase. It's a
mm.
very like emotionally dense phase with like a lot of physical difficulties, which generally happens through marriage. Do
Martin,
you
you got
think
anything
marriage
to say?
is just a social construct? I mean, it
Wait,
is.
I love Xavi with his mate. Um, I mean, marriage is a social construct. I don't see that as an opinion. I think that's just a fact. But uh, whether that's a good social construct or not, or is it a necessary one or not, or whatever, maybe that could be a discussion. But it is a social construct. It's not something that comes out of nature. We did invent it
Hmm.
as humans.
Hmm. But is it? I'm sorry. Do you guys know if it's a social construct? Like, if you were to relate it to religion, would maybe religious people not consider it a social construct, but instead like a necessity and part of our nature?
Oh, I don't know. Like,
Do you
Um,
guys know?
I
but
Do
think
you
are
guys
you
know?
are you talking about monogamy or actually marriage?
No, a marriage, like getting married, getting married.
I'm actually trying to think like biblically here because I used to
Mm,
study the Bible a lot. Um, like I think so there's, I guess there'd be two types of constructs then within religion or within Christianity itself, as opposed to other religions. I think there would be a God construct and a societal construct. So,
mm,
there'd be things that we together create and form meaning, and then there'd be things that God has installed and in place, and that you have to follow. I
mm,
think marriage, in particular, it doesn't. I don't think it says God made this. Like
mm,
I think it's implied that it's the course of action that God wants you to take. So if it's the course of action that He would want you to take, then He has made that kind of. He's made, I guess, woman for a man in biblically, but I don't know exactly if He made marriage. You
mm.
know, but yeah.
Right.
So just that's a pre
Hmm.
backstory to whatever we talk about after this.
Yeah, I often think I often don't think religion as I always think about it as a social construct. I always forget that there's a lot of people or most people don't consider it a social construct. Um,
Mm.
so you're right, Santi. It might not be a social construct in that sense. It might come from God
Yeah.
if there's
The
any.
mm. I I always having or enjoy having a conversation on and that this is steering away from the topic for sure, but it just came to my mind because I asked my dad like why he had faith in God, and um I the way I asked the question was, do you believe because it serves a purpose? And he said to me, no, I do not. I believe it's the other way around. I I I get purpose from my faith. Um, and
Mm.
so then there's no actual reason for him to believe other than faith. Like it's just faith. and that just I had a hard time grasping that concept, just believing because of faith. And then I compared it to astrology, and I asked him, well, you always criticize astrology, or you've always thought like astrology is not the best, but I told him it's practically people having faith in something else. And so he said, yeah, as long as they don't try to convince me that it's a science and admit that it's just faith, then he has actually no problem with astrology. And yeah, so like I believe in that, since astrology and religion can be put in the same category as faith. You have faith in something, but have no real reason or evidence to back it.
Okay. And let's go back a little bit. Why were you asking about marriage being a social construct?
I just wanted to get your opinions on. I mean, I felt like you were going to reply that you thought it was. It serves a function in society, or it has served a function in society, and I just wanted to see if we agreed, and we do. And that it's a yeah, exactly that, a social construct. What's the definition of social construct? Like the
Social construct. Okay. Are you searching it on Google?
ChatGPT.
Okay. Yeah. To my understanding, a social construct is just anything that we created out of thin air, just to serve a purpose in society. But if we stop believing in it, then it doesn't make sense anymore.
Could
For
then
for
faith
example, money.
be?
For example, money. If people stop believing money has any value, then money doesn't work
Then,
anymore.
then then couldn't faith, or isn't faith a social construct as well? Or yeah, isn't faith and social construct like
Of
inevitably
course.
linked?
Me as an atheist, I think so, but religious people, they obviously don't think that.
Could I question you in your beliefs in money in the same way that I questioned my dad about religion?
I think so,
Or
but
could you
not
prove
everyone
to
thinks
me,
that.
but you can't prove to me that money has a function as you've shown
Yeah,
it through your actions? Oh, just
I,
like
I,
religion.
I don't see
Yeah.
your point. Oh yeah,
But what about existence? Like, could you could prove to me that money exists? Um,
yeah, money does exist, but we created it just because we needed something that worked in the way money does.
Mm.
Um, but that
Yeah.
that doesn't mean it is a construction. It does exist, but we constructed it for the benefit of society because we needed that, or
yeah.
we thought we
Let,
needed that.
Yeah, I
let's see.
think something like questioning the existence of money is not the same as questioning the existence of God, even though it sounds similar. Because one, you're questioning the physical aspect of one, and then the
Mm,
belief aspect of another. I'd
mm,
say that questioning the value of money and then questioning the existence of God would be more
mm.
similar. And then by the same token, questioning the existence of a church and questioning the existence of a coin would be the
Oh,
same.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah,
that.
I
Yeah.
think what you gotta question is the function it has in society more than itself, because social constructs can be money. You
Mm,
can see a coin, for example, but if it's in your bank account, then you cannot see it anymore.
yeah.
God, you cannot see it, but it is there, and so on and so forth. So there are social constructs that you can see somehow because they have a physical representation, but that does not mean that the physical representation is itself the social construct, because it isn't. The coin is not the social construct, it's the value it has.
Mm. How crazy is this, right? This is just a wild thought from this, Like the Bible itself says that money is the root of all evil, right? Or not the root of all, it shouldn't be the root of all evil, but it's the root of evil, right? Greed stems from it, all that kind of stuff. But really, money isn't anything. It's just the social construct of belief surrounding money that creates that evil, right? So, but itself, religion is again a social construct, if this is what we're defining it as, a social construct of belief and value. So is that then saying that you have to be extremely careful where you place your beliefs and values in life, and that it can either be used for terrible good or for great purpose? Okay, in the Bible's perspective, it'd be great purpose being following and believing in the value system of religion, and then in everyday society, people would follow and value the system of money. You know, interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah, so if you follow that path, then if money is the root of all evil, and money is a social construct, and we create social constructs because we need them, then we are the root of all evil.
Yeah, correct.
And I don't think that's far from reality.
Yeah. That's
Fine.
so so
Conclusions.
so in other words, morality shapes our social constructs.
I
Would you
think
say
the
that?
problem with money, I think the problem with money is that it like makes us realize it gives us a physical like image, a physical thing to
The
pursue,
value.
um, that just takes the worst out of us, like the worst instincts, um, because
Mm.
with you can buy pretty much anything with money. So money becomes like this. How do you call it in English? Like, well, it's super valuable, right? Because you can, money means anything because with a lot of money you can buy everything. So the only thing you want to do is get money because after money you can get anything. Um, and of course, as well, I believe in evolution. As we have evolved through time, we want to survive. We want to get food. We're gonna reproduce. We want to do all these things, and we know if we have money, and it's not a conscious thing. I think it's an unconscious thing. Um, if we get money, then our evolution programming in our brains is not needed. Like it's all we need to survive. We don't need anything else.
Wait.
So it just makes us get the worst out of us so we can get the most out of it.
Hmm.
If that makes any sense.
Would would you say then that I don't follow because you said that in evolution, um what purpose is your brain for fulfilling in evolution?
What do you mean?
Like like evolution, in evolution you need to live, right? You need to be the first in line. You can't die off.
Yeah.
Why do you say? And then as soon as we have money,
Maybe not the first in line, but you cannot die.
right? But then you're giving a comparison that once you have money, um, you're able to afford uh, being healthy, and then so I didn't really understand your example of evolution. Like what dies off, or what isn't
Because
necessary anymore.
okay, yeah. Maybe I didn't explain myself all the way through. Um, so back in the day, we used to need to fight for food. We used to need to hunt for food. We used to need to run from the predators and stuff like this. And nowadays, that exact thing translates to money. All your needs nowadays are solved with money, pretty much. So all that like kind of energy you have towards surviving, it's going towards earning money.
Wouldn't
And
it
I
be
I
far
don't know.
off?
I kind of disagree with that. Um, and the reason why is because I think that money is, again, it's a belief system, right? And through your belief systems is, I think, how you find meaning in life. Now, I don't think everyone finds their meanings through money. And a lot of people don't believe in money and don't believe that the things that it buys you and everything fulfills you. they literally don't believe in the concept as much as others, you know. And I think back in the day, what you're saying is like in past societies when people needed to fight for food and stuff, their meaning was literally to live, like to stay alive. Like that's their whole purpose. Like they're here, they're like, okay, I'm gonna freaking hunt my food, otherwise I'm dead, you know. But that's changed because we've got comforts and we've got, you know, all these systems in place, right? But yeah, I don't think that money directly for some people it does. For a lot of people it does. A lot of people seek and drive for money in everything that they do because that's what they're going to achieve. But I've seen it for like my dad, for example. He did really well, and he was always taught, you know, you need to strive for wealth and all that kind of stuff. And he's done well for himself. And then you get to this point, you're like, well, what now? It's called a midlife crisis. You know, I don't think he's gone through a full midlife crisis or anything, but I've seen it. You know, I've seen how it plays on the mind when you finish that meaning, and I think there's more to life and there's more to people than that meaning. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I get what you're saying, and I agree with it. But that's only for okay, that's only for people that are good enough in life and have enough money to live kind of well. If we take only that section of humanity, then some people will pursue money and some people won't pursue it as intensely, intensely, intensively. Well,
Intensely. Yeah.
um, but then there's a huge section of people that don't have money at the end of the month to live properly. And I think for
Mm.
those people, seeking money does translate to back in the day, fighting for food, hunting for food, running from the predators and stuff like this.
Mm.
And I think that's most people in this planet. Um, it's just sometimes a layer a little bit hidden from society.
Yeah.
So you
No,
agree,
yeah.
Martin? Sorry. Would you agree, Martin, that because I'm trying, you just said that there's this wealthy portion. Let's call it the wealthy portion of people, which is a minority, and we have the people that have less wealth and need to work more to reach the end of the month. And you've said that the people in this basket over here, the wealthy ones, they lose that need to be competitive for money, or the energies that the other people are using in surviving um, are being spent on other things, right? Because they're more comfortable. Um, so then, would you agree that it's logical to be less competitive in that regard as you reach this pot of people, the wealthy ones? Um,
That would be
isn't
the
it
ideal, I
logical?
would say.
Isn't it logical to strive for less money if you're already in that pot of people, or not less, but enough to reach the end of the
I
month?
think it depends, man. I think it depends on your personal life goals. Um, because maybe you just want to have a family and do some sport and get enough food for everyone and that's it. But maybe you want to travel around the world. You want to go to hotels, and for that, of course, you need a lot of money. Um, I think it depends on your personal life goals.
Mm.
And whether some life goals are better than others, I think that's just personal opinions.
Right.
Mm.
Um, would you have anything to say um, to, or let me rephrase that. Um, there is something like animal-like about um, striving for more and being competitive and like being okay
Yeah.
with some people dying off as to being able to live on and reaching your level of status that you want and the wealth that you want. So there's something animal like, I believe. The animals that like went through evolution. There's for sure like lions that strive for status and all that hard work. Well, others died off. I think that what characterizes us as humans is that we have consciousness, and I think in my believes system as, I mean, I'm sure people have different goals, but we can steer away from having those animal like characteristics, and trying to see how we can differentiate ourselves to animals in that sense, in caring for the animals that are dying off.
That would be the ideal, right? That would be like separating our animal instincts from our rational mind.
Mm,
But ideal is far from reality, I would say. And that's
mm,
that's why I understand people that have these impulses and this kind of mindsets and goals. Um, I may not share them, but I don't judge them that roughly, I would say.
mm. Because I've started reading this week the 12 Proofs of Life by Jordan Peterson, and the very first chapter, which is stand up straight with your shoulders back. It I've just read a couple pages because the introduction is quite long, so I've been reading that. But the very beginning of the chapter is an analogy, I imagine, that I still haven't reached the end of. But it talks about lobsters and how they strive for status, and how they have like four different types of interactions where they're increasingly more aggressive between each other. Once a lobster is seriously damaged from a fight between them, they
Mm.
even regenerate a new type of brain that's more adapted to their lesser status in now the lobster world. I find that quite interesting. Yeah, it's very weird. Like they develop an inferior brain um, in comparison to the one that beat them. They end up being like a bit more like with a hump and a bit smaller.
Mm.
And it's like I haven't reached what Jordan Peterson wants to get with all these comparisons with or with this analogy with the lobsters. Um, but the whole way through that I've been reading it, it's like, well, if I had my what makes me human is that if I have a home in the ocean, as if I were a lobster and I saw another lost lobster that's running away from a shark, I'd love to like invite him into my cave with me, you know. So like I'm questioning, or I'm hoping that the conclusion of this analogy is not that we should act like lobsters and like uh, try to get our status and that like superior brain, you know, because I'd be happy to let another lobster into my bed, or no, my home, my home.
Mm.
Careful there.
Can't do, man. Your girlfriend's gonna be pissed that you're letting her sleep in bed before her, bro. Come on, man.
Yeah, man, it's the lobster. It's
That's
the
what she wants
furry.
you to sleep with her.
It's it's my kink, man. My lobster kink. Haven't I
Yeah,
told you guys?
yeah. I don't know. That's a pretty inferior brain right there.
That's the voice. Um, so yeah, what when I hear that kind of things about nature, it just makes me understand a little bit better why we are how we are. Um, because
Mm,
you can complain all you want about how society should be better and how we could be better, um, but that's just not reality. So I just try for me, I just try to understand it and then try to get the best out of it. Sometimes just saying I would hope this would be this way. I would hope this would be this other way. Just takes you nowhere. Uh,
yo, talking about like people that have bad impact on society, like you just said, or at least trying to get people to be better, hoping for that. What do you think about the case of El Salvador currently with Nayib Bukele, the president? Have you heard of that, child?
I'm not up
I've
to date.
heard of the case
Right.
of Insalor with some president. Tell me.
Yo, you need to get informed on this, man. Like both of you
Inform
guys.
me.
It's, I mean, I don't know all the details, but I know that this guy, he started off in like a small commune. Is that how you say it? A small commune in El Salvador, a small city.
Hmm?
How and then he like gained a lot of reputation. He barely won in that election. He was like the, how do you say, alcalde,
So
the
like
governor of
the
the city.
yeah.
Anyways, he made a lot of like good things towards education, etc. And then he wanted to become president. And he gained very good reputation from his first term, being
Yeah.
that governor. And now he eventually won the election with like 50% of the votes. And now, if I'm not mistaken, he's currently the best approved president in the whole world, with around 92% approval rating.
Wow.
He he bulldozed to put
Is he the
he
one that
bulldozed to
introduced
put it lightly.
Bitcoin?
I think so. I think I've
Okay.
heard something about him and Bitcoin. But the most characteristic thing about him is that he bulldozed, to say it lightly, the 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 terrorists. There's like two terrorist guerrillas in El Salvador, and he like applied for a loan after a lot of political controversies. He was able to apply for a $901 million loan to the United Nations of like Central America, and the technical terms. And he financed like a prison that is able to house 400,000 um, people. That's like a small
Four
country,
hundred
man,
thousand.
in terrible conditions, of course. Or that's what I understand. Like,
Yeah, it
um,
wouldn't be
I
good.
think it has like 400,000 beds. Um, and but yeah, like a lot of the people that he arrested aren't criminally charged. They just, and I just saw a video about this like an hour ago. They were arrested because as little as having tattoos were enough for them to suspect that you were related to the gorilla, and they arrested you. So now El
Wow.
Salvador is facing a lot of like repercussions outside of the country. Um, but within the country, there's a 90% approval rating, and the people are for the first time ever being able to, or the first time in a very long time, able to walk out their homes without feeling scared.
Sounds like this guy's got a lot of power, like a lot of power.
Yeah, he's able to, he basically controls all the powers, legislative, judicial. Like because he did a few things with the constitution where he said, um, he's going to apply to be the next president, for example, in El Salvador, and by law, he shouldn't be able to. But because he's like using the argument that the people want it in the country, and that's by itself constitutional, so he's like changing the laws again for his benefit, and is going to be able to
Oh,
apply again.
we've seen that before. We've seen that
Yeah,
before.
um,
look, it seems good now, and that's great. It just sounds. I just don't know this guy, and that's the issue. Like with
right.
concentrated power, it's like, man, it's
But
scary. But
does it
I
matter
think,
if we know the guy?
oh yeah, of course.
No, I
No,
don't think so.
I would say if the law is that you cannot be reelected, then you cannot be reelected.
I
Even
agree.
if you're the best president in
Disagree.
history.
Literally, laws are boundaries made to be changed, made to be bettered. You know, to set boundaries and
Not
never
only.
change them.
Well, that's what he's saying. They changed the law. I think. I would guess.
I
Yeah,
think laws are also there to avoid historical mistakes.
it's true.
Hmm.
But why only once? Like in Australia, you can be re-elected once, and then you have to go out of
Well,
office.
that's a problem from like he needs to. I bet you need to change a law like that. I would guess that it would be prudent for it to like go through Congress and go through like every mechanism and take a while to, but
Yeah.
not like change it in like in less than a year's time for him to be reelected.
Mm.
Um, yeah,
Wait,
no, but
how many times do you guys do a re-election for this part of society? Every year?
in Chile,
Yeah. So is he the president or is he the
no, he is El Salvador, man. This is like a country in Central America. He's like
all right?
yeah, it was like one of the most dangerous countries in the world. Um, and now it's becoming a lot safer. It
Yeah.
averaged like 18 homicides a day at one point, or even
Wow.
more. And now it's like a constant like one a day or even less.
Yeah.
Well, that's not possible. Oh yeah, average one a day. Yeah, brain fart.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. Wait. So the whole reason I wanted to say this is that, yeah, from one side, he's like changing laws undemocratically, some people might say, and that he's facing a lot of uh, a lot of questioning from the United Nations and the big institutions. But
Mm,
on the other side, he um, I'm trying to get it all the way back to what we were talking about, good and bad people.
mm,
Um, well, there's this terrorist guerrillas that killed and and did the worst for the country. And now, even though a lot of innocent people probably have been put in jail, the streets are a lot safer. But the way they're treating those people, incarcerating them, um, and within the cells, I imagine it's not going to be the best treatment when you
yeah.
put them in masses like that.
Mm,
Um, yeah, I just it's a very hard ethical dilemma. I'd say very
yeah.
very hard.
Yeah. I
There's
don't know. Like,
families that are searching for their lost kids, and they're imprisoned and they're lost and they don't know where they are.
yeah, right.
So it's easy to say the whole this is really good ethical dilemma because everyone outside of El Salvador doesn't have any problems like questioning the government and like giving backlash and questioning about the treatment of these terrorists or not terrorists. But within the country, they couldn't be happier. So like, whose opinions matter?
Yeah, yeah, it's a hard one, man.
Mm, I don't know. It's from the outside looking in, and this is just like so. Like I remember when I was doing business studies. Right, this is weird. In when a business is in a dire situation, like a really like crisis mode, like let's say there's publications that the product you're selling is killing people or something, right? You need strong leadership that makes decisions straight away. It's not about consulting your people. It's not about, asking everyone, oh, what do you feel? No, no, no. We need to make decisions and we need to move because otherwise the company's gone, right? But in times when you're in a good place, it's good to consult everyone and make slow changes and whatever. It sounds like this country is in the chaotic state. It sounds like this country needs strong, autocratic kind of leadership, making decisions without consulting the people. Because let's be honest, it sounds like a lot of this power is concentrated in the guerrillas. Is that what you call it? Or the favelas or whatever it is?
No, I wanted to say gorillas, like guerrillas, like G
Guerrilla.
Guerr. I'm pretty sure that's a word in English. Anyways,
Guerrillas. Guerrillas.
yeah,
Yeah,
wow.
right.
Terrorist
It looks-
groups.
There's a lot of power concentrated here, and if you're democratic, well, you're going to be asking the very toxic people how to create solutions. Doesn't make any sense. Like you kind of need strong, like autocratic leadership. But in saying that, how much power's too much for how long? Because you never stay in that state for too long. It needs to change. And that's
Hmm.
why it's interesting how you guys are saying, well, it's the next election that matters. Like maybe he stays in for one more, but after that, how terrible is the country still? You know?
Yeah, but we won't know. We won't have a way to. We don't have a way to prove that he will only stay one more period.
Yeah.
I think what you said about businesses um making like leaders in businesses making decisions fast without getting a lot of consensus
Mm,
when you're in tough situations, and then businesses asking for a lot of opinions and all that when they're in a good situation. It's a perfect example. It's a perfect example of how politics work. When countries are in dire situations, that's when, and that's the case of Chile at the moment. I'd say people sway towards the opposites of the political scale because they want immediate and drastic changes. Well,
mm.
that's how I see it. While
Well, they
when
need.
the country's in a more stable position, yeah, more center governments take charge, center right, center left, but more geared toward the center, because and they aren't very notable governments for having the most incredible politics and like the most notable changes in the world, but they like maintain the country's stability because
Yeah.
they can't do very harsh changes because it could lead to crisis, and you want to maintain the stability.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And more
That's
and look,
why.
more people making decisions, always you get a better outcome. If you're making decisions as a sole person, you're relying on your mind.
Mm,
And more minds together is always better. You know, like the outcome. Like
mm,
let's say his decision, for example, to do prisons, a 400,000 prison, sounds
mm,
great, might have immediate benefits, but
mm,
is a prison really that good for society in the long run? Don't know.
mm.
You know, is that the solution? Maybe
Yeah.
not. But it
I,
sounds like a
look,
very stopgap solution, very quick. Let's do it and let's move.
the more
Let's boom
people
go.
you have thinking, the better the outcome's going to be. But the longer the time that yeah
Right.
it actually happens.
And that's good. I mean, that's good for our personal lives as well. Like, let's say you want to make decisions in your life and you want to, progress and whatever. It's always good to consult good advisors. Always good.
Mm,
You get better outcomes. Like, if I'm training for like some physical goal or whatever, I'm going to go to a physiotherapist. Why? Because I want to consult them on how to keep my body in great condition. They know so much, the whatever. But let's say the race is tomorrow, or like I got to make decisions quickly to get back in shape. I'm just like, don't get rid of
yeah.
the noise. I'm just going to start moving.
Or else you're not going to be able to run in the first place.
Yeah, it's probably a bad example because you can probably always talk to a physio pretty quickly.
Mm. No, but
um,
I understand. Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah, but I guess yeah. I guess that I don't know if it. I don't know if this like case of um more change in during more chaos should explain why your political posture should be variable, right? Because if my country is a more drastic position, should I vote for a party that's going to make more changes, or or does this explain like a societal behavior, and I should stick to my belief system, but just try to understand like, hey, wow, like I don't know, try to study that or predict that if there's a more chaotic country, then this will probably be the likely outcome.
mm,
My question is like, is this behavioral thing? Should it change my belief system, my posture, maybe in politics? Um, should I be completely, for example, be closed off to a far left or far right government uh, forever because it like it's in conflict with my belief and morality? Or should this that we're talking about explain that you should be variable because maybe your country might be in chaos
mm.
and you need a strong hand?
Man, I reckon politically, I'm always pretty variable. Like, I think, and the reason why is because I feel like I don't know a lot. And I'm always open to understanding. So I'm always open to change and learning more. Um, but also, in a close response to what you're saying, I guess, like we're talking about a desperate scenario, So let's say I have my hierarchy of political wants and whatever to the government to do, right? Let's say Australia goes into a banking and financial crisis, right? Or COVID hits again and we're just done, right? And then we need strong leadership to bring us out. Those strong leaders are more likely than not probably going to be far left or far right. And I'm probably not going to agree with all their minute changes, but they're probably not going to want to make minute changes in this scenario. They're going to make big, high level changes to fix the big problem, you know? So in that scenario, I'd be like, yeah, fucking oath. I love this guy. Go. I love this guy. She's great. Make
Mm,
changes, you know?
mm,
In when I'm comfortable, when my country's good, then I can nitpick. I can be like, I didn't like $101 million spent on education. I wanted 95, and then complain, or whatever. Actually, I don't do that.
mm.
It's stuff complaining. But anyways, yeah,
So then you'd vote for the president of El Salvador again, I'm sure. Since you since it's in chaos, you would still vote for the drastic option.
Man, if I'm imagine being in that scenario though. Imagine you're a 23-year-old guy, right? And you're in this country. You've got no money, and your only option is to go to this guerrillas, guerrillas or whatever it is, right? So you go to it,
Huh.
right? And like you're trying to find some money as like connecting to back what we were doing before. You're trying to meet your needs, and you do anything to do it. Even if you're a good person, even if you care about people, you're going to this favela or whatever, you're killing people because you need cash. You need your daughter to eat, or you need your mum to eat, or whatever it is, or you know. Um, and then you see this beacon of hope to change your scenario, mate. I'm in. Go for it. If you think back to Germany, right, and Hitler, people saw Hitler as a beacon of hope because Germany at that time they were in mass poverty because after the First World War, the debt that they were in to pay off the war because they lost was humongous, and the people were in poverty. And when all these people are in poverty and a beacon of hope stands up, mate, they're going to believe everything that they're going to go for it. So
Hmm.
if I was in
But
that
I
scenario,
think you just gave an argument against the El Salvador president
because of Hitler.
because yeah, I mean, no, not really, but we already saw what happened there, and that doesn't mean it will happen the same now, but it could.
Yeah.
And we've seen this happening already, for example, in Venezuela, where they couldn't re-elect and the president changed it so he could be reelected, and he never left the power. And now
Hmm.
all the Venezuelans are escaping from the country and conquering the whole world.
Yeah, right.
um, so I don't know, man. I think it's tough. I think from my perspective, even if it is the best president ever, if the constitution says he cannot be reelected, then he cannot be reelected. And if the whole population wants to change that, then they should change it, but follow the procedures. Um, and then if that guy can be reelected, then sure. If not, then I don't think it's the best option.
Yeah. I think the core of this issue, like, because it's now centered on political poverty. That's what we're talking about now. Like, and this guy being reelected, they're trying to find some method to get out of this state. But so then the question is, what is the best way for a country or a people to overcome political poverty? Is it radical leadership that does crazy shit? Or is it other countries helping? And then going back to what we were saying before about people having the ability not to just chase your own desires, but to have the presence of mind to care for others and be the lobster that lets them into their home. You know, like is that the solution? And is it then a call to other countries to stop pointing at this country, and be like, why are you electing a crazy leader, and wake up and be like, hey, we actually need to help and extend an arm. Otherwise, it's going to go political unrest and out of control. You know?
I don't know. I've always thought that whenever someone says there's like one magical thing that will solve all the poverty or all the issues of a country, I think that's just bullshit. I think
Mm.
you just have to build multiple things along the way and build the wealth and build solutions to solve the issues of the different countries. I don't think there's one magical thing. I think that's just politics. I think politics need to say that um, this thing will solve everything, but I don't think that's ever true.
Yeah. No, you're right.
And yeah, and that's stability. Through stability, you reach um, wealth and empowerment through time, but it takes a long time. That's why. And that, yeah,
I couldn't agree more,
yeah.
man.
So now we've gone from you don't need radical leadership that makes stopgap solutions to we need stable leadership And we're talking about a dire situation where a country's in absolute need right now. You're saying that stability is the way to build that. I
No,
just
I think no, brother. I think in stable countries, I think stability is the way to go. That's why in votings in my country, which is somewhat stable country, I generally vote for the center governments. You know, but yeah, like this is why it's such an interesting dilemma. Because if I were in El Salvador, I'm not quite sure I'd have the same conviction of voting for a center government, but instead going for a more polar opposite or an extreme.
I think we could put the question Chavi's raising in a kind of metaphor. So if you have a stable economy, then you usually want to have a stable. You want to keep stable, right? Because you're good. But if you're, let's say you're in poverty, as Chavi was saying, I think we could use the metaphor of either start working in a stable job with a steady income, or going to the casino, bet everything, and maybe become a millionaire. Um,
Mm,
I think that could happen if you have radical governments. Yes, maybe a drastic change will change everything, and everyone will get wealthy, and the country will get better. But on the other side, for the most part, most times countries don't follow that path. They do like bet everything. Let's say they do have radical governments, and they go even deeper. Um, and I think that's the issue. Obviously, it's not exactly like that, because those are different things. But I think when you have radical governments, you are kind of betting on going maybe a lot more better, or just way more deeper in the
I
issues of the
think,
country.
and in the case of El Salvador, I think they've gone a lot better in terms of like safety and security, but they gotten much worse in terms of democracy or perceived democracy. Maybe the treatment of the like what do you call human rights,
Yeah.
the human rights index. So yeah,
And
I
interesting.
and
think
and I think if we keep with the analogy of the casino, um, when you win a ton of money, you can retire with the profits, or you can keep betting. And I
Yeah,
think and I think that's dangerous,
yeah, and
because
that's
people might think
right.
I will keep winning, but they might not.
So yeah, the question is this good or bad? It's not really that. It's like when's the retiree time? And that
Yeah.
goes back to our original question: is it now, or does he change the constitution? The only problem with the changing constitution part is you don't that extends the expiry forever. That's like he
or
could,
it
as
depends.
soon as you've
Yeah.
got that power, that's bloody a lot. So you could change anything you want now. He could be like, "No, I'm president forever now. Come on, I'm good." And then
And we've
but if
seen
you
that
always
it wouldn't be something new.
yeah, and I was going back to the thing of casino. At a casino, your expected value is a loss. You're expected to lose over time. So if he stays in presidency with that amount of power, over time you will lose. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. And again, it's not a one-to-one relation. It's just an analogy, but it
Yeah,
does kind of make the easier to think about it. And I do think it's kind of related. But I don't know, man. I would need to investigate a little bit more to have a more strong opinion in the specific case of the El Salvador.
hmm. Yeah, no, it's good. Santi, you looking at ChatGPT or what?
Yeah, man. Yeah, how'd you know? I was just reading what it wrote about social constructs. And actually, the last question I gave it was type me exactly what you wrote to me about social constructs in the form of an end note to a podcast.
Oh,
Should I go
yeah.
ahead
What
and
does it
read it?
say? Yeah.
Thank you for joining us on this podcast episode as we explored the fascinating concept of social constructs. We've learned that social constructs are the product of collective human thought and interaction, shaping our understanding of reality, social roles, identities, norms, and institutions. By recognizing that these constructs are not fixed or universal, but rather influenced by social and cultural factors, we open ourselves up to a world of possibilities. We can challenge and reimagine existing constructs, paving the way for social progress and a more inclusive society. Throughout our, throughout our discussion, we've explored examples such as, and this is just invented, gender, race, money, and language, recognizing that these contrasts are not biologically determined, but shaped by the beliefs and values of our society. This realization encourages us to critically examine prevailing norms and structures, fostering a deeper understanding of their origins and potential for change. As we conclude this episode, we invite you to continue exploring the concept of social constructs in your own life and discussions, questioning the assumptions, challenge the status quo, and strive for a society that embraces diversity, equality, and understanding. Together, we can shape a future where social constructs empower rather than limit us. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep engaging in meaningful conversations. Nice.
I hate and love it.
What? Like the fact it's so good?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really good, man.
Yeah. Anyways, should we wrap it up?
I think we just did for like 5 paragraphs straight.
Yeah, that was a long wrap up. Maybe you should tell ChatGPT next time to do it in like 3 sentences. Oh, okay. Boom.
Okay, everyone. Thank you so much. See you in the next one.
It wasn't
Bye-bye.
really do it, man. I've broken the artificial intelligence.